What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the Belly of Sports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix from, you'll find us there. Check us out on social media, on Instagram, X, Facebook, at Insert Name FC, and also check out our YouTube channel at Insert Name FC as well. We usually break these episodes down into shorter videos where you can digest it a little bit easier or at your convenience. A full video version of this podcast is also available on Belly Up's YouTube channel and on Goals TV, which also the short videos are also available on Goals TV as well. But yeah, so another two new seasons to preview as well. We got Serie A and the Bundesliga to talk about. Also, Nik Gable, writer extraordinaire for Belly Up, covers soccer as well as other sports for Belly Up. He is here to talk about the Ballon d'Or. We gave you guys our top three and our likely candidate to win the Ballon d'Or. So that's going to be a really good discussion. Make sure you guys check out Nik Gable's articles that he drops over there at bellyupsports.com. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much this episode. So not 3 leagues, hopefully not a 4-hour long episode, but it'll still be pretty substantial just because obviously it's 2 league previews that we have to talk about, but and as well as Ballon d'Or talk. And of course, 3 up, 3 down. We still have that going. And this is going to be the Bundesliga kits. So we are now going to go to Bundesliga and talk about the kits in the German league. So hopefully you guys do that go ahead and enjoy that as well. Obviously, if you guys are watching the video version, you guys can tell I'm wearing an Arsenal kit right now. Arsenal's actually, I'm recording this right now on Sunday. Arsenal's about to play Manchester United for match day 1. And obviously, we mentioned this on the podcast. If you guys aren't familiar, we do have a jersey bet amongst me, Edward, and Spencer. So me and Edward, he supports Manchester United. So we're already kicking off the season with the jersey bet. And if you guys don't know, it's just a giant table. Winner of the table gets a jersey. So the losers have to buy a jersey for the winner. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's all I really have. So yeah, once again, Serie A preview, Bundesliga preview, Ballon d'Or, and 3 up, 3 down. So it should be a really fun episode. So guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Insert Name FC. Let me tell you guys about Belly Up Sports. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. Belly Up Sports is the premier, not your average website. All right, guys. So Edward was not feeling well, and so he is not going to be available for this episode. But just so you guys have a reminder, we're going to preview Bundesliga, Serie A, and then we're also going to talk about the Ballon d'Or nominations and predict our top 3. So, but that's going to be with Nik Gable. So, but the previews for the Bundesliga and Serie A will just be me. Obviously, because this was a very last minute thing that just happened, and obviously, I hope Edward gets enough rest and gets better. But all right, in the Bundesliga, same thing, same way we did the other preview last week. If you guys are watching the video version, I don't even think I'm pointing it the right way. Maybe this way. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. The table is going to be by my side, and for the audio version, I'll go ahead and say the teams competing in this season's Bundesliga. So we have Augsburg, Bayer Leverkusen, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Eintracht Frankfurt, FC Cologne, SC Freiburg, Hamburger SV, Heidenheim, Hoffenheim, Mainz, RB Leipzig, FC St. Pauli, VfB Stuttgart, Union Berlin, Werder Bremen, and Wolfsburg. Those are the teams for this season. The teams that just got promoted this season into it. We actually have 2 teams that got promoted because that meant that to tell you that someone won the promotion matchup, that 16th place spot. So if you guys aren't familiar with the way Bundesliga is, there's 18 teams. bottom two, 18th and 17th, automatically gets relegated to the second division. 16th place plays against the third place team from the second division to decide who's staying in the Bundesliga, basically. So it's a play-in game for the Bundesliga. And this year, being that there is no third team, should tell you that the team that was in that 16th place spot is staying afloat in the Bundesliga. Should I probably have gotten that team's name? Probably. That's, players fuck up. Am I going to? Probably should, actually. All right, let me see. Bundesliga play in 2024. This is great podcasting, by the way. 25. See who finished in 16th place. 16th place was Heidenheim, and Heidenheim was the team that survived and are still here in the Bundesliga. All right. So the teams that just got promoted is FC Cologne, who has been away for a year. They were in the Bundesliga the season before, got relegated into the second division, and got promoted. Got into that automatic promotion spot, and now they're back after 1 year. And Hamburger SV, who has not been in the Bundesliga in 7 years. So this team has definitely been grinding it out, trying to get back into the Bundesliga, and now they're here. And I will say have made quite the statement, especially in their kits this season. So that's just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, I'm gonna be really intrigued. Cologne usually tends to do fairly well in the Bundesliga. We'll see if that stays to be true. Hopefully they can avoid being relegated. And Hamburger, I mean, I think the trend right now is we've had a lot of teams that have not been in the first division for quite some time, much more than 7 years, but still like teams that this is what this game is all about, right? Is teams that are grinding in the lower division, trying to get themselves back on track to get into the top flight, and I think that's what we got from Hamburger this past season. So I wish the best of luck to those teams, and I hope that they're able to do well and stay afloat in the Bundesliga, or hopefully they can get that 16th place spot and hope they can win that play-in just like Heidenheim. New managers. So we got some new managers this season. For RB Leipzig, they're going to have Ole Werner, who their previous manager, Zlat Loh, was interim. So he was, they were going through some managerial changes over there in Leipzig. Actually, the next two were all interim managers. Wolfsburg, they have Paul Simonis, who was the position was previously held by Daniel Bauer, once again interim. FC Cologne, Lukas Kwasniak, he is now taking control of FC Cologne, the team that just got promoted. And Friedhelm Funkel was actually the interim manager, so that's intriguing. A team that just got promoted, got a new coach, a new manager, which I mean, it isn't out. It's not like it's not common. It's just that especially with newly promoted teams, most of the guys end up get poached. I mean, Sutherland's probably a pretty good example, even though Sutherland did win 3-0 this past week in their return to the Premier League. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what Lukas Kwasniak can do with this Cologne team, and like I said, once again, hopes to stay afloat. Bayer Leverkusen, Erik ten Hag is taking over Leverkusen as Xabi Alonso has now taken the Real Madrid job. Obviously, we talked about that in the previous episode. So we'll see what the Erik ten Hag era at Bayer Leverkusen, what entails. FC Augsburg, we have now Sandro Wagner, who's taking over for Jess Dorup, who was sacked at Augsburg. Augsburg kind of was not great, so obviously, respectively so. And then Werder Bremen, they now have Horst Steffen taking over, and their previous manager was Ole Werner, who was sacked and is now the manager of RB Leipzig. So, it just happens like that. Things do happen to be like that's what happens, and we'll see how all this goes, man. Stories to follow this season in the Bundesliga. I'll start things off with Hamburger, man. It's going to be really interesting to see what they've learned in their time in the lower division, like how, what players are going to be standouts from them, throughout the promotion process, but can they make a name for themselves in the Bundesliga and showcase what they can do? And hope, and like I said, the obviously the objective right now is to stay in the Bundesliga this season and then work from there. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see. So far as I know, they still have the same manager, and I hope that they have made some interesting transfers to strengthen this team for for the first division of German football. So I think that Hamburg is going to be a really interesting team to follow this season. Once again, for me, like obviously when I think of Hamburger, the first thing I think of is Jesus Christ, how's this guy's name? Bobby Wood. Bobby Wood, who did play for Hamburg, and so I think it's really cool to see how this team performs. Obviously, Bobby was not with this team anymore, but that's the last time I remember watching this team. And so we'll see how they do. And once again, hopefully they can stay afloat. Obviously, the real thing is going to be what will be the post-Xabi Alonso era look with Erik ten Hag. Obviously, you guys know Xabi Alonso essentially revolutionized Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, had an undefeated season in his first full year as the manager of Bayer Leverkusen. A lot of excitement came from that. They were in the Europa League final. They did lose to Atalanta. That was their only loss that season. They won. They got a domestic double. They won the Bundesliga and they won also the DFB Pokal. So just a really interesting season. Obviously, second season, I think things came a little bit back down to earth. Not too much per se because they were very competitive throughout. Even though Bayern Munich did end up winning the league, it wasn't necessarily an easy battle for it. I mean, Leverkusen definitely put up a good fight, but at the end of the day, obviously the writing was on the wall. Xabi Alonso, in his contract, had a stipulation that he can leave the club if Real Madrid is available. Real Madrid was very much available, and they were very much interested in him, and he took the job. And Leverkusen really had nothing else to do, but at this point, find a new manager. The names there were plenty of names that were thrown out. Obviously, Xavi Hernandez, obviously Barca legend, and we all know it's time for Barcelona, but was one of the names that was thrown out there for the Leverkusen job, but it ended up being Erik ten Hag. I know a lot of people want to make some jokes about Erik ten Hag. I understand things didn't pan out at Manchester United for him. Obviously, once again, sometimes I feel like sometimes when you just worked at Ajax, just because of what Ajax has been able to do recently, maybe not recently, but over the years, I've just been able to build a very successful academy, names upon names that become sensational stars in the European ranks. Obviously, Johan Cruyff is the first name everyone thinks about when you think of Ajax and also Barcelona. And I think Erik ten Hag obviously did his thing with Ajax, had a very iconic Ajax team. I feel like made the most sense in the world to go after him, and Manchester United did. Unfortunately, just things didn't pan out for him at Manchester United. We talked about this when we talked the Premier League. Like there's like a whole lot of things wrong with Manchester United that I don't think that a manager is going to solve it. I mean, they did just lose to Arsenal today. We're recording on Sunday. Arsenal did beat them 1-0 at Old Trafford. It's just been problems on problems with that Manchester United team, and I really don't think it really matters who's in charge of the team until the club figures out what's wrong internally, before they go ahead and jump on another manager. But I think at the same time, going back at that Erik ten Hag era with Manchester United, it's not like you can. There's not much to take away from him, right? Like, I mean, well, okay, I'm not gonna say right, but like, besides just obviously poor form, but at the end of the day, Manchester United went and got the players that I think in reality you should go after. You should go after Casemiro. You should go after Jadon Sancho. You should go after Anthony. You should be going after. I mean, yes, there was a few head scratchers. Obviously, like for instance, Hojlund was a bit of a head scratcher. But all in all, like I think a team that doesn't shy away from spending money. I think it's kind of funny that we now give them at least as far as American sports comparisons, we dub Manchester United the Dallas Cowboys of the Premier League just because of the fact, or you could say Manchester United, the Cowboys of the Manchester United of the NFL. Whatever makes you feel better about yourself. But it is a team that kind of just lives in the past, and wants to wants to believe that the next year is going to be their year. But in reality, and I mean, you've gone through very amount of coaches, maybe not amount of coaches, but when you think of the Dallas Cowboys, obviously Tom Landry. I'm drawing blanks right now on the Dallas Cowboys history, but you've had some coaches that have won championships, but the only thing the difference with Manchester United is Sir Alex Ferguson is basically the history of the club, and it hasn't really been able to. Kind of similar with the Dallas Cowboys, they just haven't been able to replicate what they accomplished in the 90s. And once again, it's just, they're a big brand. A lot of people recognize it. There's people all across the country, the United States, that love the Dallas Cowboys. They're not from the state of Dallas. They're not from the city of Dallas. They're not from Texas, but they love the Cowboys. I've met people from Virginia who are diehard Dallas Cowboys fans. I've met people from New York who love the Dallas Cowboys. I've met people from California who love the Dallas Cowboys, and they hate Texas. And so it's one of those things that, like, how recognizable the Dallas Cowboys brand is. And despite them just not being good, they're still discussed. Like, you have to talk about what's going on with Jerry Jones. Kind of similar with Manchester United, where you kind of have to talk about. I like how this is the Bundesliga and we're talking about Manchester United. But you kind of have to talk about what Ineos is doing. You got to talk about what the new manager for Manchester United, because once again, it's just it's a really big club, has a rich history, and it is kind of shocking of the downfall of what this team is, what has happened with this club, and so for that's why I'm kind of going back to the Bundesliga. To me, that's why I don't want to blame Ten Hag for a lot. I know once again he didn't help. He didn't help the cause as much, but at the end of the day, I don't put the blame solely on Erik Ten Hag. Like, it is just a massive combination of a lot of things in over there. So Leverkusen for me is probably just a good bounce back opportunity for him. But the unfortunate thing about his bounce back opportunity is that he got depleted. Obviously, Florian Wirtz and Frimpong are now at Liverpool. You have there's more players that left. I can't remember off the top of my head. But a good amount of guys from his team are gone. Important, impactful players are gone. Now he actually, as a matter of fact, his center back Ta now is at Bayern Munich. He's lost some important pieces to his team, and it's going to be up to him to try to figure out how to put out a competitive product out there and continue stay the course with what Xabi Alonso has done, which is some pretty hard shoes to fill, in my opinion. So I think that's going to be a big challenge for Erik Ten Hag. What can his era of Bayer Leverkusen be? Because there's high expectations for a lot of the supporters of Bayer Leverkusen, especially after what Xabi Alonso has been able to accomplish with that team in just a short span of time. So I'm going to be very intrigued to see how he does this season with Bayer Leverkusen, because it's going to be a challenge. And then a team to watch this season. I'm gonna go with Borussia Dortmund. I think there's definitely good players on Dortmund's roster. I want to see what this team does. Obviously, they didn't move on from a coach, so I want to see what happens when you have some continuity with the team. Obviously, the whole Nuri Sahin did not pan out as well as they hoped. But I think since the new manager took over, let me probably get his name too, because this is great researching. Niko Kovac. Niko Kovac. He, as immediately after they sacked Sahin, he took over and he really made this club look very good. I mean, obviously they made it into the Champions League. They got a Champions League spot, not by technicality, just by being in one of the positions to get a Champions League spot. So we'll see what he does when he has his own transfer window. Able to assess, now he has a better assessment of his players, and how he makes this team to compete in the Bundesliga and obviously all the other competitions that are involved for Borussia Dortmund. So that's really the team to watch for me is Borussia Dortmund. Can they get back and being that threat to Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga? And my player to watch this season, I'm gonna stick with Harry Kane, man. Harry Kane, who obviously took a big risk, left Tottenham. Well, I guess not really a big risk because everyone, if everybody would say the safest bet to win a championship is probably with Bayern Munich, aside from PSG. But he went to Bayern Munich, obviously in hopes of winning some trophies. First year, didn't win a trophy, which was kind of comical. Second year, did win some silverware. He won, obviously he won the Bundesliga. And then already started out with the German Super Cup. So, obviously this is his opportunity to build up as much as he can on his resume. I think it's safe to say Harry Kane is going to go down as one of the best strikers in England's history. It's not as far-fetched as many people think. He's a solid player. I think would have won many trophies if he just wasn't at Tottenham. I commend him for his loyalty to that club. He did what was best for him, and that was to go to Bayern Munich, and it has paid off tremendously, in my opinion, obviously because it ended with him lifting a trophy. I think for him at this point is eyeing a potential Champions League. I think that's where his sets, Bayern Munich sets focus are. They are going to be without Jamal Musiala. That's going to be a massive loss, but they are going to be without him for the season. But once again, it's going to be up to that team how they step up. They have plenty of talented players on that team, where even though Jamal Musiala is a massive loss, I think that they can still go keep doing what they're doing. Obviously, Coleman is now gone. Leroy Sané is gone. But Bayern Munich doesn't make those moves unless they feel confident in what they have on the team or they're working on getting somebody. And I think that that's really what it came down to. Obviously, I think their plan was hoping that Jamal Musiala would very much be part of that team. But I still think they're still the strongest team in Germany, and they're probably going to be the winners of the Bundesliga. Which that leads to the final thing, which is will Bayern Munich win the league, and if not, who? I think there's too many question marks with Bayer Leverkusen. I could see a dip happening with Leverkusen. No offense to all the nice things that I said about Ten Hag, you could push to the wayside because honestly, they lost a lot of good players as well, and that's also something that you need to take into consideration. But I don't think Borussia Dortmund is necessarily up there just yet to compete with them. RB Leipzig was kind of weird. I hope that they can compete, but I think at the end of the day, Bayern Munich, they poach off of some of the best team. They poach off the best players on all of these Bundesliga teams, which is kind of the reason why Bayern Munich just stays dominant and a lot of teams stay where they are in the Bundesliga. And until that changes, I just don't see how that will ever go away. So I don't see another team that could compete with them at least right now this season. Maybe in a few years down the road, but Bayern Munich is just very loaded, and they did get stronger this season with some of the players. Yes, Jamal Musiala is a massive loss, but I think that they are still very much capable of winning the Bundesliga this season. So that is my prediction right now is Bayern Munich winning the Bundesliga, and that is the Bundesliga. So we'll go ahead and move on. We'll take a break and then go right into the Serie A.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, guys, the Serie A this season, man. I'm going to try to stay as focused as I can right now. Houston Dynamo are currently playing Vancouver Whitecaps, which is the debut of Thomas Mueller. Yeah, Thomas Mueller is now in the MLS, and he's playing for Alphonso Davies' team, the Vancouver Whitecaps. So that'll be really interesting. But just like every other preview for the season, to my side has the league table. And the teams that are competing in this year's Serie A are AC Milan, Atalanta, Bologna, Cagliari, Como, Cremonese, Fiorentina, Genoa, Inter Milan, Juventus, Lazio, Lecce, Napoli, Parma, Pisa, AS Roma, Sassuolo, Torino, Udinese, and Hellas Verona. I don't know if that was Spanish. Definitely not Italian, but I definitely used some Spanish on that one. The new teams, the new faces for this season's Serie A, we have Sassuolo, who's making their return after 1 year. Cremonese, who is returning after a 2-year absence from the Serie A. And Pisa, who are returning to the Serie A after 34 years. This team, I'm 33 years old, by the way. I just want to say that real quick, just so you guys have a frame of reference. I wasn't born when Pisa was in the Serie A. That's how long they have not been in the Serie A. So that absence is older than me. So that is crazy. The other thing that's crazy, I'm really intrigued about how these teams are going to perform. Obviously, Sassuolo, a team that normally stays afloat in the Serie A. I don't know much about Pisa. Like I said, they've never been in the Serie A in my entire lifespan. Cremonese, I did get to watch them a while back, so we'll see if they can stay afloat and continue on in their journeys. But the really interesting thing about this season is, and obviously we talk about new managers, but this is actually going to be one of the stories to follow because there is a lot of new managers in this season. This league has the most new managers from all the leagues that we covered this season. So let's go right into it. In Fiorentina, we got Stefano Pioli, who is taking over after Rafael Palladino had resigned. So Fiorentina, Raffaele has stepped down, and now Stefano Pioli will be the new manager of Fiorentina. Which Pioli was really good at AC Milan. Obviously, was when it ended the drought for AC Milan in winning the Scudetto. And then for some weird reason, AC Milan didn't try to keep him. So he's there now with Fiorentina, a team that I keep highlighting. I think that they're going to be a team that eventually will be on the rise. So hopefully that eventually falls into fruition for me because I'm tired of saying that this is a team to watch for me. Inter Milan will now have Christian Chivu, who is taking over after Simeone Inzaghi has stepped down to go to Al Hilal. Obviously, this is a very interesting, just being that Inzaghi. Inter Milan was a team that was just close but no cigar. They had an opportunity to win a lot of trophies, and obviously lost in the semifinal to AC Milan in the Coppa Italia. Get obliterated in the Champions League final by PSG, and then unfortunately had to lose to Napoli in the battle for the Scudetto. Inter Milan was one of the few teams in the Serie A that moved post the Juventus dominance era that was able to be to get back on top, back on track in the Serie A. And things have fallen apart. And great, Houston Dynamo gave up a penalty, and of course Brian White scores a goal. All right, so there's a good one. Parma, they have Carlos Cuesta now taking over after Christian Chivu took the Inter Milan job. So I don't know what else to tell you, man. So Christian Chivu, and I think this, like I said, this happens a lot when you see teams that are doing well in the league. The bigger teams go and poach their managers. I mean, that's what happened with Juventus also last year when they took was it Bologna or Genoa? One of those teams. Or was it Cagliari? I don't know. Anyways, doesn't really matter. But yeah, Carlos Cuesta will be taking over for Parma. AC Milan will now have Massimiliano Allegri, obviously well known for his time at Juventus. has taken the job as Sergio Conechao's role. Has his contract expired, so his contract was only for the season. Obviously, it did not go as well. I mean, it did win the Super Coppa Italia. Obviously, take that whatever it's all. No one gives a fuck about that trophy. But obviously made it to the final of the Coppa Italia, which obviously did not go the way they were hoping. And so now, so now that's it for them. Massimiliano Allegri obviously has a lot of experience in the Serie A, has dominated with Juventus, along with obviously Antonio Conte. But so a lot of experience there in the league. Can he unlock this team and maybe someone else besides Christian Pulisic doing some damage there for AC Milan? AS Roma, Gianpiero Gasperini, legend. If you guys don't know, he was the manager for Atalanta, who shushed Xabi Alonso in the Europa League final. He is taking over AS Roma after Claudio Ranieri has retired. The legend, the man that won with Leicester City, is hanging it up. Maybe. You never know, man. You never know. But no, Claudio Ranieri probably did. Is probably let's double check. Let's just see. Maybe, because you never know. You never know. These coaches bugs, bro. When Sir Claudio Ranieri, bro, you just never know. No, yeah, he's retired. He is 73 years old, and he is officially retired after 30 years. But what a legend. Just honestly, just one of the most lovable guys in football, in my opinion. Obviously, the whole Leicester City, what I want people to understand about Leicester City's run, by the way, also great somehow able to bring the Premier League up in a non Premier League discussion. That team was very likable. Obviously, you had Conte, you had Mahrez, you had Jamie Vardy, you had lots of players, and up top of that, Claudio Ranieri, who was just super lovable. I love the interview that he had when he found out that he was potentially going to get knighted, and here saw Claudio. He was just super happy. Just once again, overall, just a great guy. But congratulations to him, great career, and I hope he enjoys his retirement. In Atalanta, they have Ivan Juric taking over after Gianpiero Gasperini took the Roma job. So we'll see how Atalanta responds now without their mastermind Gasperini. Lazio, Maurizio Sarri is now taking over Lazio after Marco Baroni has been sacked. In Cagliari, Fabio Pisacane has taken Pisacane. Pisacane. It has to be Pisacane. After David Nicola stepped down through mutual consent, which more often than not, it wasn't mutual. Torino is Marco Baroni, who is taking over after Paolo Vanoli was stepped down through mutual consent. In Lecce, newly promoted Lecce, Eusebio De Francesco is going to take over after Marco Giampaolo stepped down through mutual consent. I mean, I don't know what to tell you at this point. In Pisa, newly promoted Pisa is going to be ran by Alberto Gilardino, which I have to like search this one up, because this is a name that I believe I'm very much familiar with, because that is, of course, Alberto Gilardino from AC Milan. Obviously, for those, I don't know how many times I have to explain this, but me and Edward, we both grew up on Brazil. Our parents are all Brazilian fans because we're from El Salvador and we don't have any good football to watch from El Salvador. Fun football, but not necessarily good football, if that makes any sense. So we watched a lot of Brazil, and obviously Ricardo Kaká, a very talented player. And so because I liked how Ricardo Kaká played, I did watch some AC Milan games. Not an AC Milan fan, but I did watch some AC Milan games. And so I got to see that team that did win the Champions League, that beat Liverpool, got the revenge on Liverpool, right? And I remember, I believe that was 2005. Alberto Gilardino, Filippo Inzaghi, Clarence Seedorf, Paolo Maldini. I mean, icon Paolo Maldini, Cafu, Dida. Uh, Gattuso, Andrea Pirlo. Uh, that is a fucking wicked ass loaded team. But yeah, Alberto Gilardino is a player that I'm very familiar with, and it's funny enough because he actually took over the job after Filippo Inzaghi left on mutual consent. So little perfect thing right there. And then in Cremonense, it is David Nicola who is taking over Cremonense, newly promoted Cremonense. So all three of the newly promoted teams in the Serie A all have new managers. But yeah, David Nicola, who I believe, yeah, he actually left the Cagliari job to take this job, and the reason why he's taking this job is because Giovanni Stroppa, his contract expired and they did not renew. So the first storyline in general is just a lot of new managers, a lot of new faces on these teams. Could that be an advantage for some of the teams that already have a manager in place? So that's going to be interesting enough for that storyline in general. Just so many managers have changed in the Serie A. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see, who is impactful right away, and maybe hopefully no massive amount of new managers for next season as well. Also, I mean, we got to throw it up there. Allegri is now taking over AC Milan. Is he going to be able to unlock this AC Milan team? Is this team going, obviously they made it to the Coppa Italia final. Can they compete also for the Scudetto this season? Can he unlock this team? Does he have do they have the players? And if so, can he get them to that next step? It's going to be a really interesting storyline to follow. Once again, Allegri has a lot of experience in Serie A. He obviously, with his time at Juventus, is probably one of his best examples for his resume. So he knows Serie A very well. He knows how to compete in it. And, I will say, I believe AC Milan does not have any European competition. So their focus is going to be solely on the Scudetto and the Coppa Italia. So this is probably in all scenarios, the best scenario for AC Milan, where they can just focus on the league and focus on the Coppa Italia, whereas the teams that are probably going to be competing with them have to focus on other competitions. So it's going to be really interesting in that aspect of it when it comes to AC Milan. Can Allegri really get the best out of this team, knowing that they have, in some sense, an advantage over the teams that have multiple competitions to worry about? And the last thing we'll talk about is Kevin De Bruyne. So Kevin De Bruyne, in this transfer window this offseason, I mean, his contract was going to run out with Manchester City. He wasn't going to renew with Manchester City, and everyone was just curious of what he was going to do post Man City. Obviously, his whole career, at least the epitome of his career, has been with Manchester City. He was a Chelsea, another Jose Mourinho flop, right? Chelsea didn't see any value with him, so they moved on from him, went to Man City, and became their captain, dare I say, legend for Manchester City. Obviously, was part of that golden generation of Belgium. A lot of things you can say about Kevin De Bruyne. Just really talented, amazing 10, really good with the ball, and just a phenomenal leader. He is... The whole thing was everyone was thinking that this guy was going to go to MLS, either play for San Diego FC or maybe stay with the City Group and play for New York City FC. But there was a lot of talks about him going to the MLS, and then a lot of talks also about him going to Saudi Arabia. Which, I mean, when you start talking about players, especially at the age of Kevin De Bruyne, those seem to be the two options, right? Do you go to the MLS, and try just move to America and just enjoy the resource, enjoy whatever America has to offer, or do you go chase the money and go to Saudi Arabia, which a lot of guys have done that as well. But that seems to be the guys that are like on the cusp of their exits, right? And then once again, there wasn't really any conversations about anywhere else. But then at the end of it all, he goes to Napoli, which, I mean, if you want to look at Napoli, won the Scudetto. And on top of that, McTominay, I talk about another guy from Manchester United, but Manchester, who maybe didn't get a little bit different from Kevin De Bruyne, because Kevin De Bruyne is very much loved and respected. McTominay, I think people saw his value, but just wasn't utilized properly at Manchester United. Well, he goes to Napoli and just becomes a star, a stud for Napoli, which is very fitting for Manchester United as of lately. Could that midfield just have gotten a lot stronger with Kevin De Bruyne? Now, the concern obviously with Kevin De Bruyne is his health. Can he stay healthy and be impactful for this Napoli team? A team that's hoping to maintain their status as the best team in the Serie A. Obviously, they have Champions League aspirations. Any team that's in the Champions League should have Champions League aspirations. I think that just makes common sense. So they have a lot of things to ride on this season. Not only on top of that, but obviously they also have the Champions League to focus on. And a guy with a lot of Champions League experience to add on to that team could benefit Napoli as well. With his leadership, could he be another thing that can he be more impactful for this Napoli team, who seems very strong to begin with? Can they make him stronger? And maybe we have a new story to talk about, Napoli now being the most having the Napoli story like last year with PSG. Probably not going to happen, but still, I think can Kevin De Bruyne's leadership and experience help them juggle all those things and still end the year with some silverware at the end of it. So I think that's going to be a really interesting storyline to follow, especially with Kevin De Bruyne. Once again, truly talented player, amazing player. I think still has a lot left in the tank, and I can't wait to watch Napoli this season. Serie A is a really fun league, man. I enjoy it for its technical ability, its physicality. It does harp more on the defense, which that just tells you if you're able to score goals in the Serie A, you must be a really good player to take on physicality as well. So it's a really good thing. So I really can't wait to see what the Serie A has to offer. Now, player to watch. I'm just gonna say, man, Christian Pulisic, and it's not for good things. I think at this point, Christian Pulisic has done all that he can to make himself look like an asshole. I'm just gonna say that wholeheartedly. This guy looks like a prick, and the reason why I say that is because this was in many U.S. soccer fans' eyes like our best player, which in reality he is. He is the best player in the U.S. And I think that a lot of the things that has happened is massively the fault of U.S. soccer fans. You know, we jumped the gun, right? A lot of U.S. soccer fans just jumped the gun trying to call this the golden generation. And in reality, we've never had a generation period. We've had groups of guys that have just somehow found ways to win games. Not great. Okay. Surprise people, sure. But to be a golden generation, it would mean that your team has been doing things right for years. Prime example, if you think of England, their golden generation, which was, I believe, David Beckham, David Beckham, Lampard, Gerrard. I'm not gonna list all the names, but that golden generation, right? That England has had good teams. It wasn't like they did, but they never had a group of players of that caliber, right, all together. And I'm sure there's going to be many more golden generations when it comes to England, just because of their structure, right, how they properly train in football. Belgium, they have recently had their golden generation, right? When you look at Romelu Lukaku, Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, Thibaut Courtois, Vincent Kompany, that golden generation of players. It's one of those once in a lifetime kind of group of players that maybe is never going to be replicated. And that's kind of the problem with the term golden generation when you're referring to the U.S. You're basically saying that we're never going to have a group of players of this caliber ever again. And in all actuality, it's going to be it's a huge, massive lie. I think the U.S. are trying to do things the right way. I think I talked about this plenty of times to the point of ad nauseum, but the reality is just this isn't the golden generation. Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BELLYUP20 at CanadipCBD.com. Once again, BELLYUP20 at CanadipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports. The golden generation is probably codependent on how this World Cup pans out for the U.S. But okay, that's enough of the U.S. talk part. But obviously, Christian Pulisic, he after just the context does matter with the U.S. soccer. So I'm gonna just kind of hit the bullet points. Obviously, got embarrassed in Copa America, got grouped. They finally fire Greg Berhalter. They hire Mauricio Pochettino, who is supposed to be the solution to U.S. soccer. He's going to fix U.S. soccer. At least that's what we're hoping. In reality, he's probably just here to make his resume look good. If he's able to get the U.S. out of the group stages and maybe even past the first round of 16, past the round of 16, able to use that to his resume. So whenever he gets his next club job, he's got that on his resume, which, I mean, could happen. Or maybe he could be the U.S. soccer coach for the rest of his life. I don't really know, but I'm begging more on the latter, on the other, more than this one about him keeping the job. But he comes in, he's here to give mentality, provide a mentality, give these guys kind of that competitiveness that you're supposed to have, like the rest of the world does. And honestly, the performances haven't been great. Hasn't been remotely great. I mean, besides the Jamaica performance and Camp Cupcake, which you could take that with a grain of salt, but beating Jamaica, which you kind of you're supposed to, but at the same time, it wasn't that great of a win to begin with. And then you go into the Nations League. Once again, take that with a grain of salt, however you will. But for the U.S., these are competitive matches, and I mean, the likes of Panama, Canada, and Mexico, those are right now your competition. Those are the teams that are right now they're doing well in CONCACAF. So you got to beat them to be on top of CONCACAF. Pretty straightforward, right? You lose to Panama in a last-minute winner, which, I mean, one, give props to Panama. They competed, but you lose to Panama. Then you lose again to Canada. That Nations League became essentially a disaster. It was the first time the U.S. didn't win the Nations League, which obviously, frankly, I don't care. Like, the things I care about is how do you perform. I will like to see results correlate as well, but the big issue was they just didn't play well. They didn't look great. You should be able to have majority possession against Panama, and you should be able to finish in your opportunities against Panama, but they didn't. Mexico did, though. That's why they won the Nations League. You go against Canada. You scored one goal, but then got completely embarrassed after that, and it's just that's what happened. So, being that was a terrible, terrible Nations League performance for the U.S., which Christian Pulisic was very much a part of it, they know they need to do better. All eyes pointed into Gold Cup. Now, let me just point this out. Yes, Gold Cup isn't the biggest tournament when it comes to international football. Obviously, World Cup, Euro, Copa America is usually the ones that get more looks, more recognition. I mean, I'm sure people will even put African Cup of Nations in front of the U.S. I don't know about Asian Cup. Maybe that could be like a good even tie. I'm just not familiar with how their tournament won because it's usually pretty early in the morning when their tournament is being played. But I think CONCACAF obviously is not the most well-looked confederation. Obviously, it's a lot of just teams that just don't have the essential resources like most of the top teams in Europe, most of the top nations in Europe, and even you can probably make a valid argument for like CONMEBOL, just because like CONMEBOL also deals with like financial issues with their national team, resource issues with their national team. but they still put out a pretty good product out on the field. Playing that similar style, just maybe not as pretty. Physical, yes. Gritty, yes. Beautiful, that can be subjective. But at the end of the day, that's your region. You play in your region. You can't really pick your regions. Australia, but for the U.S., like, this is your region. You gotta win your region if you want to go into World Cups. Unless you're hosting it, unless you're going to World Cup, you want to qualify for World Cups. You want to win competitions. This is your region. This is where you play. Mexico has no issue about competing in CONCACAF. And I will say Mexico tends to do very well in international competitions and has been able to show that they can punch above their weight, especially with with a group of players that recently has been kind of overwhelming, and they're still able to get some sort of result, at least at the most. But yeah, so this U.S. team, when you look at the Gold Cup, maybe if the Nations League would have ended in a different way, maybe we're not looking at the Gold Cup as we have to care about this, but it was the feeling that we had to care about this. Now, Christian Pulisic chose not to participate in the Gold Cup, which then led to, well, there were some players that were excused. Obviously, Timothy Weah, Claudio Reyna, Gio Reyna, Weston McKennie, any of the guys that were in Club World Cup were essentially kind of excused because they were competing in the Club World Cup. Their clubs weren't going to let them go play in the Gold Cup. And Christian Pulisic wasn't in the Club World Cup, but at least for a lot of people, the conception, the context was he was dealing with an injury, and he wanted to recover after playing a long season, which is totally fine. I get wanting him to rest, but the thing that didn't sit well with me with Christian Pulisic was when he did receive criticism, and obviously, once again, this criticism all comes from just what happened with the Nations League. But still, criticism was given, and for some reason, Christian Pulisic and his dad, for some weird reason, felt the need to explain themselves. To defend themselves from the people that have mics and decide to speak their opinions. And so, in that interview, he said, well, I wanted to play in the friendly. So if you guys don't recall or don't care, the U.S. had 2 friendlies before the Gold Cup. It was going to be against Switzerland and against Turkey, or apparently it's Turkey A. And he basically said, I want to play the friendlies. I just don't want to play in the Gold Cup. And so when he said that, the thing that didn't, because then Christian Pulisic then said, well, they told me that they were hoping that the roster that's going to be in those friendlies is going to be the roster for the Gold Cup. And I respected that. I respected that decision. Obviously, that was a load of crap because a lot of players then ended up leaving the camp to go, to rest while the rest played in the Gold Cup. So that was literally a crock of shit. But which to each his own. I think U.S. Soccer also didn't handle this fairly well either. But anyways, fast forward. Obviously USA loses to Mexico in the final, which I will say, contextually, pretty good performance for that U.S. team. A U.S. team that didn't have their guys per se. Right? This wasn't, and I don't want to use the whole A team, B team crap. Yes, I get it. Mexico's been overwhelming, but still, you were able to put in a subpar U.S. team, and they were able to go far. And it was mainly because these guys bought into what Pochettino was selling. They bought in. You had the cute, the cool. Well, I'm not gonna say cute, but that moment where you could see the players crying in the locker room, and Pochettino, you could see him. You're hearing him cry. You're seeing him cry. And you're starting to realize that Pochettino does, in fact, care about this team. He wants this team to be good. And to see them crying, and it's not a sign of weakness. It shows that you care. You battled it out. You grinded it out throughout the whole tournament. You made it to the final, and you couldn't win it. you should be crying at a final. Whether you win or lose, you should be crying because that's what it means to you. It means the world to you to showcase what your country can do. So yes, it's fine to cry on it. It shows that you give a crap, and to see all those players, taking it in the chin, like, hey, this sucks. I don't want to be in the final and lose. I don't want to be the final wearing a silver medal. I want to win the medal. I want the gold medal. I want to lift the trophy. And that's what they showed. So I commend that U.S. team. I didn't have high expectations. I predicted Mexico to win. Which they did. But I will say that U.S. team did perform well. Diego Luna performed well, not in the final. But I think a lot of guys showcased that they are capable of something, and they should be considered come this summer. Now, I guess once again, because of that, you have guys like Landon Donovan sharing his opinion, comparing, using Cristiano Ronaldo as an example for the Nations League final for UEFA, him competing in that as, him carrying. It's like, look, there's things I agree with Landon Donovan, but most of the things I disagree with him. I think people saying that he's not the right guy to speak on it. No, he's very much the right guy. He played for the U.S. men's national team. The only thing I would say for Landon Donovan that needs to shut the fuck up on is usually when it requires him to throw his 2 cents about a guy needing to go to MLS. Why are you going to Europe? Go to MLS. Like, no, stay in Europe, compete, be in a competitive setting. MLS, unfortunately, is just not that setting for any young player for development. So I disagree wholeheartedly with that notion. So Gio Reyna, hopefully I see him playing in a club in Europe. I do not want to see him in LAFC or anywhere else in MLS kit. But I mean, like I said, Landon Donovan spoke his piece. You had other guys speak his piece. I've said my things about Christian Pulisic. At the end of the day, I get that he needs rest. I get that he's played a long season. But there's also guys that have played long seasons as well that are still also competing. At the end of the day, like, a chance to wear your country's kit is still, it means something to most guys. For Messi to wear the Argentina kit means the world to him. For Cristiano Ronaldo to wear the Portugal kit, it means the world to him. For Mbappe, for any international player, especially top international players, Lamine Yamal, it means something to them. You can see that when they're doing the national anthem and they're singing their hearts out for their country's national anthem. I'm not going to go more further into that one because I can go into a very long rant about that. But so, if you guys don't know, Christian Pulisic has a docu-series, which I think is completely and utterly the dumbest fucking thing he's ever done. Because it's okay. So in the episode, I didn't watch it. I only watched like the first episode of Pulisic because after that I was like, I don't want to watch this crap. In, I guess, the new episode, because they take forever to put in new episodes, by the way. In the newest episode, I guess they're talking about the criticism that he received, and they had Tim Weah, my adopted son, also in this episode, and basically started talking about media heads critiquing, obviously, Landon Donovan, anybody that has critiqued the U.S. men's national team, specifically Christian Pulisic, and the guys from what the quote-unquote golden generation of U.S. soccer, and basically saying that, you had Tim Weah calling them evil, which was fucking moronic. You had Christian Pulisic, look, people are going to talk. Like, the reason you're in your position, you're the best player in the U.S. soccer's history as of right now. I don't think anybody's going to take that away. Right now, yes, you're better than Landon Donovan. I would also argue better than Clint Dempsey. Just from where you are right now as a player. They are not, they maybe, I mean, I don't know where you are in the U.S. goal tally so far, but I'm sure you're going to pass them up eventually. But these guys, yes, they come from a different time period, but guess what? They played with very much little and still made more with it. For them to say, what have you guys accomplished? You guys haven't accomplished anything either. They've won gold cups just like you won gold cups. what are you gonna flaunt, the Nations League? So like it's completely asinine. But like calling them evil, they're just chasing a check. No, duh, they're chasing a check. They're paid to talk about you guys. Of course they're gonna, Landon Donovan, Alexi Lawless, whatever guy you want to talk about. Yes, that is their job. Their job is to talk about you. If it hurts your feelings, then you're letting them win. If it bothers you so much, you're supposed to change the narrative. So by changing the narrative, meaning you got to step up and start playing well. Step up and start playing for your national team. But instead you go the opposite route. Now you sound bratty. You sound like you're whining. Like this is not what you want to do. You already shot yourself in the foot when you pulled that whole thing about I actually wanted to play in the friendlies. I didn't want, but I didn't want to play in the Gold Cup. I didn't like that. Personally, I didn't like it. I thought, oh, so you want to play against the European team, the European nations, but you don't want to play against Guatemala. And once again, I know the whole, whatever their excuse was as to why they didn't have Christian Pulisic play. I believe it was a total crock of crap. Trust me, I agree. But at the same time, like, Christian, and then on top of that, you have your dad. Why do people not like LeVar Ball? Because he says dumb things and it hurts your brand. Because it's not LeVar Ball speaking for LeVar Ball. It's LeVar Ball speaking for Lonzo. LeVar Ball speaking for Melo. LeVar Ball speaking for Jello. It's LeVar Ball saying that his sons can have the Lakers. If all his sons play on the Lakers, they're going to win championship. Like, that hurts their brand. So when you have your dad, I believe his name is Mark Pulisic, when you have your dad trying to talk crap, you want to talk about not accomplishing anything? Your dad hasn't accomplished anything. And I can say that as a guy that hasn't accomplished anything. So, like, it's ridiculous. Like, what you're doing is you're just digging a hole and you're just digging it a hole deeper. You're hurting yourself when you do these things. Like, let your play do the talking. Go perform. Go, and you did perform. You did perform in Coppa Italia in this past weekend. But let your game do your talking. One, you need to end that Pulisic docuseries. By the way, that just needs to go away because it doesn't. You're not promoting the U.S. national team. It doesn't make me want to care about you more. It really doesn't. It makes me care less about you. Because you're the first episode, you're already nagging about the bias, right? The bias of American players in Europe. You're already complaining. Now you're complaining about people having an opinion on you. That is legitimately their job. Their job is to talk out of their ass and say what they think you're doing. Think what you're thinking. In reality, they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know you like that. They don't talk to you. Maybe now you don't give them the light of day now because of all the stuff that they've been saying about you. But at the end, that is their job. Your job is to flip that narrative and then, because that's what they're going to do. Once you start performing, once you start winning, we're saying a lot for the U.S., but once you start competing, they're going to start, oh yeah, Christian Pulisic is the guy. He's the man. He's, all these things. He's this, that, and the third. That's when the positive things come out, is when you put in the work. All you had to do was just not talk. You didn't have to defend yourself. Why do you need the fact that you felt the need to defend yourself? You owe nothing to anybody. I didn't need an explanation. When they said Christian Pulisic needed to recover, I was like, all right, he's dealing with some injuries. You know what? Props to him. He was playing hurt, and he still gave out a pretty good season for himself. Fairly healthy season last year. So I was like, good for him. Let him rest, let him be strong come next season, and then he goes out and, hopefully does something well in the 2026 World Cup. But no, you had to talk. You had to talk. And that's where we're here. But, so that's why my player to watch is Christian Pulisic. And the reason being, I think right now he has a lot to, unnecessarily, he has a lot to prove to himself. once again, unnecessarily needs to prove himself. I think he needs to showcase it this season that, why he needed the rest, why he didn't compete in the Gold Cup, which once again, it wasn't important enough. I'm trying to say this without sounding like a dick, but I think at the end of the day, like, I wish he would have cared enough to compete in the Gold Cup, especially when you look at Mexico and you have Raul Jimenez competing in the Gold Cup. You have, in Canada, you have, Jonathan David competing for Canada in the Gold Cup. Keylor Navas came out of retirement in the Gold Cup. So, like, and which is crazy because Keylor Navas at one point just didn't compete in Gold Cups. But that should tell you what that Gold Cup signified. Like when we talked about it on this show plenty of times, that was a dress rehearsal for the 2026 World Cup. And as in a perfect world, I would have loved for you to compete in it, but you didn't, and that's perfectly fine. But now your job is to showcase that why that rest was warranted and make us believe that you're going to be in the best shape of your life and you're going to make us proud in 2026. That's what this season's going to be for you. So that's why I'm going to keep a close eye on you, not just because you're an American player, not just because you're undeniably, arguably, the best player in U.S. soccer right now. Maybe not historically. You're definitely going to get historically at some point. But I personally feel like historically he is the best player in U.S. soccer's history. And I'm a Clint Dempsey guy. But I think it's put up or shut up. Stay away from the mics. Let your ball do the talking. Let your game do the talking, man. So that's what I want to see. So that's my player to watch. And the final question is, will Napoli win the league? And if not, who? I'm going to say Juventus. I think they did some trimming of the fat. But I do think that I'm going to see a big step up for them. I think we're going to see a dip in Inter Milan, unfortunately. I don't think they lost anything, but I don't feel like they got better, if that makes any sense. I think Juventus probably has gotten a little better, at least more than I feel about Inter Milan. So I feel like I would love to see them maybe get back into the discussion for the Scudetto. Napoli is going to be tough. I think just in general, Serie A is going to be tough. It could very much be a very competitive league this season. It could be anybody's game, and I can't wait for that part. But yeah, if it's not Napoli, I feel like it's going to be Juventus winning the league. So there is that. That is Serie A, and we'll go ahead and take a break and go right into Players of the Week.
Fight and win!
All right, guys. We're going to talk about the Ballon d'Or because the nominees for quite some time has been out. So we're going to go ahead and talk about them and give you guys our top three. I am joined by Nik Gable, writer extraordinaire for Belly Up Sports. He covers a lot of sports, but he also covers football and all those things. And obviously this last year was a bizarre year. Can it be anybody's game? We don't know. We'll probably get to it once we share all the nominees. But when you look back at last season, when you at least saw for those of you watching the video version of this podcast, obviously you can see the nominees to our side. But Nick, with the season going on, obviously we've been hearing front runner for the Ballon d'Or with multiple names. But just from your guess, like you're guessing. What were you expecting once you saw like how the season concluded? What were we going to see a lot of for these nominations for the Ballon d'Or?
I was expecting a lot of PSG, second French club to win the Champions League. The French invented the Champions League. They invented the Ballon d'Or. They vote for the Ballon d'Or. And I think it was very PSG heavy. And I was expecting that and not surprised when I saw a ton of PSG players. Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what happened. PSG had not only just a great year, but a very historical year. They completed a treble. I think that's the first treble in PSG's. I mean, obviously, it has to be the first ever treble because there's only two cups to win in Ligue 1, and then on top of that, they finally lifted the Champions League trophy after so many millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars to be fair, and all the coaches that has gone through PSG. And they apparently all it took was to get rid of the most expensive player, and that's all you needed to do to become a contender. But yeah, I was on the same boat on the same page as you. I was like, there's gonna be a lot of PSG. I think PSG was almost undefeated in Ligue 1. Obviously we already mentioned the double, and then obviously lift the cherry on top, winning the Champions League. Do you think of any international? Obviously, there was no real international competition, at least to speak of, unless you want to talk about Gold Cup. But do you feel like Nations League, when everyone was saying like, the Nations League is what's going to decide the Ballon d'Or winner? Did you ever feel the Nations League would be ever put into consideration for this award?
No, mainly because when you started talking about the Nations League, it took me like 2 seconds to remember that Portugal won and beat Spain in the final. And I think it was a good game, but it wasn't like a memorable game with memorable performances. I also think when it's a tournament and a competition invented less than 10 years ago, like, it shouldn't matter that much in an award that's been going around since the 50s or 60s. So I think if you're voting for this award, you should really be thinking about league form and the Champions League and any other European competition.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then obviously Club World Cup.
Club World Cup.
Did that change anything for you with the Club World Cup? Or did that double down for someone for that?
I don't think so, because with the Club World Cup, it was almost such a weird tournament where it was almost like preseason for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they were calling it last season, so it technically was last season and not the beginning of this season, it felt more like the beginning of this season than last season because transfers were made, teams changed. So I almost felt like, unless someone completely came out of nowhere, and Chelsea won, and they did come out of nowhere to a certain extent, but none of their players were going to be nominated or win the Ballon d'Or to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so your Cole Palmer stock is still where it is.
Yes, it still hasn't gotten higher, and it still hasn't gotten lower. It's pretty steady.
No, I totally agree. I think, yes, PSG did make it to the final. I don't know if it solidified anything that was already I felt already determined at that point. I don't think that this was the deciding factor for the Ballon d'Or. I mean, if for Barca fans, I guess for the sake of their argument, they weren't even in the tournament, so that would have at least hurt the stock of certain players. I won't say who I would have picked out of Barcelona just yet, at least. But we'll just go ahead and I'll go ahead and list out for the podcast, the audio version of this podcast, for that sake. List all the nominees for it. So we'll start with Jude Bellingham from Real Madrid, Ousmane Dembele from PSG. 3 players from PSG I'll just start off with. Ousmane Dembele, Gianluigi Donnarumma, I was about to say Buffon, Desiree Doué, Denzel Dumfries from Inter Milan. Did his transfer happen yet, or is he still with?
I think he's still at Inter.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Serhou Guirassy from Borussia Dortmund, Erling Haaland from Manchester City for some weird reason. Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon and Arsenal. He's not going to win it. Robert Lewandowski from Barcelona. Hakimi from PSG. I know that's a very touchy name right now, but that's our only mention. Harry Kane from Bayern Munich. Kvaratskhelia from PSG. McAllister from Liverpool. Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan. Scott McTominay from Napoli. What a year he had. I'm sure Manchester United is definitely not kicking themselves for letting him go. Kylian Mbappe from Real Madrid. João Neves from PSG. Nuno Mendes from PSG. Michael Olise from Bayern Munich. Cole Palmer from Chelsea. Pedri from Barcelona. Fabian Ruiz from PSG. Declan Rice from Arsenal. Rafinha from Barcelona. Mohamed Salah from Liverpool. Vinny Jr. from Real Madrid, Virgil van Dijk from Liverpool, Vitinha from PSG, Florian Wirtz from Bayer. You know what? The slash makes no sense. It's counting towards the season that they were with Bayer Leverkusen. Don't give this to
Definitely.
Liverpool. So, and Lamine Yamal from Barcelona. So those were the names. I was not surprised. Yeah, like you're right. Heavily PSG, and you know, whenever a team wins Champions League and other trophies, they should be featured. And yes, no, Nuno Mendes. Well, yes, he did have an impactful Nations League final. I don't think that's enough to justify a fullback to win the Ballon d'Or. As much as I would love to see a fullback win the Ballon d'Or, speaking as someone that once played that position, once again, defenders are just not going to win this thing.
No, unless they're captaining the World Cup or, I mean, Van Dijk got really close to winning it a couple years ago, but he lost out to Messi. So I think a defender can still win it in today's day and age, but they got to do like captaining, leader in clean sheets, and win at least their league and the Champions League. Or, like, again, the World Cup in a World Cup year.
I mean, you got Sergio Ramos, scoring penalty kicks, for crying out loud. So, I mean, and for the people that were saying that last year Dani Carvajal should have been considered, he wasn't going to win it. It was Rodri. I said it on my on the episode when we covered it. I saw Rodri winning it. I didn't, as much as it was a controversial pick for everybody, but it was Rodri. But I think we'll just go down from 3 all the way to 1. Who is, at least from those players on the list, who is in your top 3? Who is in your vision of when they do the Ballon d'Or ceremony that clearly we all watch?
Definitely watching.
Who's that one sitting right next to the Ballon d'Or winner?
This is so hard because it is almost a tie with me between Rafinha and Lamine Yamal, but I'll go with Rafinha because his stats, it's a weird thing to say, but like Rafinha's stats are better, but I would say if you're like telling me who's the better player, I think Yamal's the better player. I just think like he's still so young and like the production of goals and assists usually comes like Vinny Jr. It came after a couple seasons. It usually comes after a couple seasons. Even Rafinha didn't produce like this at Barcelona's first season. So I would go Rafinha 3rd.
Okay.
And then probably controversially, I would go Dembele 2nd. Even though I think Dembele will win it, I would put him 2nd. Just because I think Salah had an incredible year. 29 goals, 18 assists, played every game in the Premier League. Liverpool were not favorites to win the Premier League. And they won, and he was their best player, and he was the league's best player. And I will admit I am a little bit Premier League biased. I just think it's the best league. I do understand that Salah lost to PSG in I think it was the round of 16. Yep. But that game was so close. That tie was so close. It went to pens. Exactly. Yeah. I totally remembered that. So I think you're splitting hairs. Obviously, again, Dembele I think will win it, but I would give it to Salah. I think he was the best player the whole season.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget how Liverpool was the odds-on favorite for the Champions League. At that point, I mean, the way they were playing, it was just a whole other level. And I mean, let's be honest, with PSG, they didn't look great initially in the Champions League. I mean, they had to play in, which obviously, lucky for them, they got to play against, I believe it was Lille. They played against
I think it might have been Brest.
Was it Brest?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I know it was a team that they normally play against in Ligue 1, and they beat the brakes off. It was kind of like in college football when, Alabama decides to play against, South Alabama and just beat the brakes off of them and then goes into, obviously that's a bad example because Alabama, I don't know if they're going to be good this year. But, beats the brakes off of a team and then goes right into the season with a full head of confidence. And, I mean, they beat who they were supposed, oh yeah, that's right, we're PSG. Beat the brakes out of that team, goes on to play Liverpool. And I think a very good matchup. I think Arne Slot, keep an eye on with Liverpool, man. They're gonna be, if you guys thought they were good last year, they got significantly better this year. So we'll see with them. But yeah, I think Mo Salah definitely deserves some love. It would be really awesome for him, just because then if someone were to be the second African to have ever won the Ballon d'Or, like, you know, I would have loved to have been Sadio Mane, but Mohamed Salah, I mean, he's just been at a whole different level that year, and I totally agree with what you're saying, at least in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But so for me, for third, I will also say Rafinha. I think people are going to go off of statistics. I know that Rodri, even though no one went off of statistics for Rodri, just overall impact. And when you look at impact, it just so happens that he was impactful for their Euro run, which and I say this all the time with midfielders. It's so they're not going to pop off on stats, like unless you look at chances created and like defensive statistics. You're not going to really see it off of a midfielder. Like you're not going to see the high goal margin. You're not going to see the high assist margin just because they're really just there to send it to the next channel, right? And so I think for Rodri's sake, if you watched the games and if you looked at the games, you understood why he won the Ballon d'Or. And that was my argument for why he won, because once again, he played his position well, not only for Manchester City, but also for Spain, which you pointed that out as well. You know, European competition. The Euro is a pretty big deal. But Rafinha, I think, with this Hansi Flick attack, I think it worked well for his abilities. He also bought in on defense, because if you're going to play for Hansi Flick and you're going to play Hansi Flick's system, you better be willing to defend. Anything that involves German football in general, you better be willing to defend. And I think he unlocked Rafinha. Remember, a lot of people were wanting him to be sold.
It was the people wanted him to leave so Nico Williams could come in.
Exactly, and obviously Nico Williams didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen twice.
But Rafinha, I think once again he found his role with Hansi Flick's system, and he flourished. Statistically, you look at the stats; it looks good on the stats. But also, if you watch the games, you could tell that he was doing his part for the club. And I agree with you. Lamine Yamal, he's going to be elite. He's up there already, and that's the crazy part. He's already up there, but he's going to get better. And it is so scary to say that sentence as a Madridista.
Yeah.
So
his birthday parties are also probably going to get better and better the more money he makes.
Yeah, that's look. Like I said, man, it's a dangerous game when you give 17-year-old that much money
and that much fame and that much, holy moly.
Yeah, and obviously also him jet skiing with a 4-year-old woman. Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, some people like jet skiing. Whatever.
Yeah, hey, he was saving up for his birthday party. He couldn't afford to. So
Exactly. Split the costs, save the money.
My second pick, I can't ignore Mohamed Salah, man. I can't. I don't want to. I hate when people do it. He was really impactful. I'm sure someone will find a way to feature 3 PSG players, but Doué, I think, came out of nowhere, to be honest. I don't think his stats. If you're going off of statistics, me and Edward actually talked about it earlier in an earlier episode. Lamine Yamal's stats pops out more than Desiree Doué. No offense to him. Doué, phenomenal year. Also very funny in that final against Inter Milan, where he became the second youngest to score a goal in the Champions League final, only for that other younger player to come off the bench, and then he became the second youngest.
Yeah, holy moly, that was funny.
That just tells me PSG is just going to be so scary for years to come.
Loaded,
young and just Jesus Christ. But yeah, so I'm going to give it to Mohamed Salah. I think amazing year. If only there was an AFCON during that last season, because I feel like
he might have won it.
I'm tired. We need to see someone else not from Europe win this thing. So, but yeah, I think hopefully we give him his flowers for that season, because I think he was very spectacular for Liverpool. A lot of people were thinking he was out the door, and clearly he's not out the door.
No.
And then for me, it has to be Ousmane Dembele. There's just no way he he essentially in this one, I don't think many people had a lot of faith. I mean, as far as PSG winning the league and probably the French Cup, I think that they all felt that they could still win that, but they could never get to the Champions League final. Well, they got into the Champions League final, it was during COVID, but they just couldn't get to the Champions League final. And say what you want, but as much as people want to clown on Dembele for that super high price tag that Barcelona paid for, that's not his fault. Barcelona was willing to pay for that. Mm-hmm. Injuries happen. I don't know what it was with Barcelona, but he just kept getting hurt. It was weird because when you watched him at Dortmund, he was always healthy, and then you see him go to Barcelona, and he just kept getting that injury bug like almost every season. It was almost like I hated for him because obviously as someone that has watched him play at Borussia Dortmund, I was like, this guy has what he should be up there with that 2018 French team, right? The team that won the World Cup, but he wasn't. So I think that it's insane when you think about it like that. But Ousmane Dembele, he stepped up. He took the role of the leader of that team when Mbappe left, and also sacrificed, right? He was playing on the wing. Desiree Doué happened, and he was just like, all right, put me in the mid. Looks at Luis. That speech that Luis Enrique gave to Mbappe. When he was talking about Michael Jordan and all that. That's what I felt like. Dembele listened, and because he goes back, he defends, he comes up and attacks, he moves the ball around. He does all the dirty work for you, and still does the finishing for you. And it was one of those things where the team played so fluid. It was such a weird PSG team because there wasn't that many massive signings, if that makes any sense. Clearly they had good signings, but like Desiree Doué, no one saw him coming, and Dembele kind of took that leadership role. Obviously Marquinhos is still there, but in the front part, you can see Dembele being that guy up top, and I think he was very important for that very young front. And I think that's why PSG was so effective last season, and why they finally lifted a cup, along with just having arguably one of the best managers in the game in Luis Enrique.
Yeah, I think with Dembele, the argument for him is almost like the team. Like, I don't know if this will make as much sense.
The team is too good.
The Tim Duncan, that like he was kind of, there was great players around him, but he was kind of the one that stood out and played on both ends. And I also think when someone is, I don't know, I guess, yeah, he was a little mocked over his injuries, kind of made fun of. His stock was very low at Barcelona. And then the fact that it's been able to bounce back, and the fact that it was in the first year without Mbappe, I understand why he's going to win it, because I do think he is going to win it. And I think also his stats weren't like bad. He literally 8 goals, 6 assists in the Champions League is incredible. So, yeah.
No, yeah, and that's why, like, I can see Dembele winning. I think he's the front runner. I think, and if you want to use Club World Cup in any way to like solidify anything, I mean, they did make it to the final. I don't know how much of he was part of that team, but I mean, it just goes back to, him willing to do what needs to be done for the team. And I think kind of similar to why Rodri won, maybe didn't pop as much as he would in the stat sheet, but did what he needed to do to get the results. Now, do I know what the French media is going to be using as their criteria points? Because last year their criteria just changed out of nowhere to off the field conduct came into play.
Yeah, it got weird. Last year was very odd. Ballon d'Or, Rodri was almost like given it because of something that had nothing to do with what happened on the field, and it was even weird because I was reading an article about Vinny Jr. and his time last season at Madrid, and I had forgotten he won the FIFA Best Award, which people can clown that award, but it's still like I'm pretty sure it's still voted on by like either players or somebody important. Like, it's not just randomly given. So I was surprised. It's still surprising that he didn't win the Ballon d'Or last year. I do have a Vinny.
We hype up the Ballon d'Or, but we don't hype up the FIFA best player.
Yeah.
Because I remember, what was the year Robert Lewandowski should have won? And Messi won it, right? I think that's
yeah. It was either 2020 or 2021.
Messi won it for the World, because everyone's like, oh, he won the World Cup. And everyone was like, I feel like you need to give it to Lewandowski, or maybe it wasn't the World Cup year, but I know he won one where I think it was 2021. Everyone felt like Lewandowski should have gone back to back because, obviously COVID, Lewandowski was also on a different level. And then I think Messi wins the Ballon d'Or, and then Lewandowski won the FIFA Player of the Year award. So it was insane that when you look back at it, because then same thing here where Rodri won it, which once again I agree with the decision for Rodri, but then you give Vinny the best player, the FIFA Best Player of the Year award. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that notion.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
But I don't know, man. It's going to be funny with Real Madrid, obviously, even though I support that club and it is the club that I identify with the most. They're petty. So I don't think that anyone can make an argument for a Madrid player this year because Real Madrid they weren't great last year. And that's funny to say that when they finished second place. But it was just reality. The team just didn't play well. The team wasn't really as good as they should have been. And I mean, we saw what happened against PSG in the Club World Cup. But it's not going to be a Real Madrid player. I do believe. I think Champions League is going to put into consideration. I think that's going to be the big thing where everyone looks at. I could see in some way where Lamine Yamal is a finalist. I don't see him winning it.
I could see him finishing third.
As
kind of like a token, like Jude Bellingham finished third last year, and it was almost like we knew you weren't going to win it, but this is because we appreciated how well you played. I have a Madrid-specific question. Were you surprised to see Vinny Jr.'s name on the short list?
For this year?
Yeah, because in my head, he didn't have that great of a season.
He didn't, but he still had moments where he took over, if that makes any sense. I think, it's funny how everyone fabricated last year that him and Mbappe were having issues in the locker room. And I say fabricate because because I don't see that on the field. When they score goals, you see them going to each other and celebrating whichever one scores the goal. If you didn't like the person, you would just walk back to walk back to the touchline and get ready for the next kickoff. So that's when I was like, you can't, they're passing the ball to each other. They're trying to make whatever Ancelotti was trying to do. I think at the end of it all, the real issue came with Real Madrid was just their backline wasn't prepared. Obviously, injuries happen. I don't want to use injuries as an excuse, but their backline just wasn't prepared. Midfield just couldn't really the afterlife of Modric and Toni Kroos clearly they weren't ready for that. They didn't have a guy that can really move the ball like Toni Kroos does. I mean, Valverde is only so much he can do. And I mean, you can essentially say him and Jude Bellingham are almost the same guy in the midfield. So you don't have that guy that can just move the ball around. I know they're hoping that Arda Güler is that guy. But I think I was surprised to see Vinny this year. Mbappe obviously made a lot of sense. He won the Pichichi. So
he scored a lot of goals, like the statistics.
Which, unfortunately, that's kind of what you're getting from Mbappe. So I know people are hating on Mbappe and all that, but it's like this is what he was doing at PSG too, and in deep down, I do worry if maybe it's him.
At a certain point, you have to look in the mirror. The only thing I would say is in his last year at PSG, they made it to the semifinals and were beat very closely, like lost a close game to Dortmund. Like I sometimes think like players get unlucky, and I think he's been unlucky in the Champions League.
No, yeah, I think you're right on that one. I mean, well, Real Madrid was in the quarterfinals, I believe, right? Yeah, 'cause
They lost to Arsenal. Yeah.
Lost to Arsenal, which I mean, well, no, that wasn't even close. Like Arsenal won that one and won that by a mile, and then PSG handled them very easily.
Yes.
So, but no, I think things happen for a reason. I think there was too much. I think there was a lot of just attention given to the team. Ancelotti, will he or won't he leave, kind of thing. Obviously, Perez was very much focused on trying to get Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid, which probably caused some sort of strain between him and Ancelotti. But I think, and obviously I guess we're all fine and dandy now, right? Xabi Alonso's now with Real Madrid. Ancelotti's still getting to coach Vinicius Jr. So I mean, everyone's all happy at the end of it all. But yeah, I'm still wondering how this Real Madrid's gonna look like. But yeah, to go back to your question, yeah, I think it is kind of. I found it odd to have Vinny on the list, but especially because he's not gonna win it.
Yeah. I totally that's why I thought did he have that great of a season? What did Real Madrid really win?
Because if I was to pick a player that really stood out from Real Madrid last year, it's obviously Mbappe would be the first name. The next guy I probably would would probably Valverde. But after that, I mean Valverde had some injuries as well this season. So yeah, there wouldn't be many Madrid players that I would think off the top of it. I don't know if Vinny got some assists off of some of those Mbappe goals. I don't know if that came into a factor, but maybe it's like a way of trying to mend for what happened last year, because obviously Vinicius was very vocal about what happened with all that. But
yeah,
and I do feel like it was a cop out to use. Oh, we're gonna start considering off the field behavior.
Yeah, that seemed weird.
That was because I was like, why does that matter for a best player award? Like, I don't know if Maradona ever won a Ballon d'Or.
I think he might have, but
I'm pretty sure
they sure weren't considering it then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even back then, most of these guys were, smoking cigarettes and drinking the night before. So I mean,
yeah,
it was a different time. But I mean, yeah, off the field, I think that was a very bizarre decision. I think it was just the French media's way of trying to justify why they wouldn't pick Vinny, which I understand the aspect that he was the odds-on favorite in some people's eyes. I didn't personally have that feeling. But honestly, I think this all could have changed if he had a good Copa America.
That's I was going to come to that. He did not have a good Copa America, and Rodri had a really good Euros. I will say Rodri got injured in the final, left at halftime, and the team still won. And the guy who replaced him, Zubamendi, was really good in the final as well. The Rodri, it's still I understand, but it was weird. Almost like I guess you could put Dembele in for.
So maybe Carvajal should have won it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have given it to Vinny Jr. Because if you think about that Spain team, you think about Yamal and his kind of breakout, and then you probably think about Nico Williams too on the other wing. I mean, maybe even before you think of Dani Olmo was great. Yeah, they had so many great players. It was weird that Rodri, and especially the year after he wins the treble.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that it was interesting. It was funny because the Dani Carvajal argument, I believe he provided an assist in that final. I that might be me making things up, but I know he scored in the Champions League final against Dortmund. I know he did that.
Yes.
But in that final against England, I don't know. I either he made a pass or something. I feel like he made an assist, but once again, that could be just me fabricating and finding a way to give it to Dani Carvajal. But I mean, if you want to make those arguments, Dani Carvajal was also on the pitch for that too. So
yeah, it's a weird the Ballon d'Or, there's no like set structure that we go by in other like we do in other sports. Like in in the NFL, the MVP is usually like the best player slash quarterback on like one of the best teams. And in basketball, it's usually like one of the best players on one of the best teams. Where in soccer, it's like it can be the best player on the best team. It can also be the guy like when Messi and Ronaldo were winning it, they weren't winning the Champions League every year. And it was just because they were just going crazy. Like they had just crazy stats. So it almost changes a little bit.
And then you get Luka Modric.
Yes, and then it's the guy who has the crazy run to the final. And the like lifetime achievement award-ish thing of giving him the Ballon d'Or. Like he's been so good for so long, here you go.
But obviously you feel you personally you feel that Ousmane Dembele should be the winner, but you're hoping to see Mohamed Salah.
I think Salah should be the winner. I think Dembele will win.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you. I would love to see Mohamed. It would just be cool for CAF, right? For their sake, I think it would be a really, especially if we can somehow get like George Weah to hand the award to Mohamed Salah. That would be. I mean, I'm sure he's busy, running the country of Libya, but I mean, which that's a bizarre career change.
Definitely.
And son to a promising American. So
very random, but I'm glad his son is American and is on the USA team.
Yeah, it's funny because not many people talk about it. Like I don't hear many people talk about that. This is George Weah's son.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes with athletes and their children, it's only really talked about if their child is like dog water horrible or like really, really good. Like Bronny James, like if he was like the 25th pick and like a role guy, I don't know how much, I mean, it'd be talked about, but not that much. But since he was kind of like the Nepo pick and like in the second round, and from what we saw in his first season and what I think he will be, he's like kind of below average, possibly not even good enough to be in the NBA. It's talked about more.
Jello ball.
But yeah, Jello ball. And then like it's the Texas quarterback, Arch Manning, because he's the quarterback at Texas, it's a big deal because we think he's going to be really good. But if he was like the quarterback at like Tulane, no one would care.
To me, it's interesting because the fact that it's like, it's not like it was just like, for instance, Casper Schmeichel's kid, right?
That's a good, he's like hits the Timothy Weah thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like just good enough to not, make waves.
It's just, to me, it's funny because it's like, he's the son of the only African to win the Ballon d'Or. Played for AC Milan, obviously played for Marseille. And all these things about how iconic his father is, because Ballon d'Or winner, there's nothing
Definitely.
more iconic than that. But it's just hilarious that governing member of Libya too, which is once again still bizarre to me. But I think it's so funny that it should be a big deal that this is George Weah's son who came out of PSG's academy, won a Ligue 1 title with Lille. Went to Juventus, all these things for him. And it's like, nah, we're not going to talk about this game.
Yeah.
it's just funny to me with that. But then on the flip side, what right now, all this, where Thiago Messi is going to end up going when he's only 13 years old right now, or Ronaldo Jr., wherever academy he's going to play for now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, so it's insane. But yeah, I think Ballon d'Or, obviously we won't find out till later on in the year, but obviously nominees are out. We'll go ahead and we'll actually post our top three. So if you're cool with it, Nick, I'm gonna
go for it.
Share your top three on our social media. We'll definitely tag you on it. But Nick, it's always great having you on, man. Obviously,
of course, always great to be here.
This is your time, man. Tell the good people here. I mean, obviously, this isn't the only time you're going to see him. He's going to, rank some Bundesliga kits as well with us later in the episode. But hey, tell the great people where they can find you.
bellyupsports.com/Nik Gable is where you can find all my articles. And then at Nik Gable 37 on Twitter/X or Twex, as I like to call it sometimes.
Nice. But yeah, that's Nik Gable, guys. Make sure you guys check out all his content, man. Lots of writing, especially if you're a fan of multiple sports. It's totally fine to do so. But Nick, thank you so much, and we'll go ahead and move on to the rest of this episode.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
All right, guys. Players of the Week is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site, app, however you guys use it. Me and Edward, we love using SeatGeek. We get our tickets all from there, from concerts to sporting events to theater, anything that's live, it's going to be there on SeatGeek. We love its simplicity. It has a really easy grading system using colors and numbers. If the number is high and it's really green, that means for those seats and that price, you're getting a great deal. Go ahead and enjoy your event. If the score is really low and it's super red, that means whoever's trying to sell you these tickets are not giving you a great deal. Keep scrolling through the app. You'll find a better one. We love the simplicity of SeatGeek, and if you guys aren't sold just yet, if you use the code BellyUpSports at checkout, you'll save $20 off your first purchase. So first-time users of SeatGeek, if you guys use the code BellyUpSports.com at checkout, BellyUpSports at checkout at SeatGeek.com, certain limitations apply, but you'll save $20 off your first purchase, which could be really beneficial depending on what you're trying to see. But all right, my player of the week is going to be Hugo Ekitike, who scored a goal and an assist in his debut as a Liverpool player in their 4-2 win against Bournemouth. So big performance. Also, fun fact, he's on my fantasy Premier League team. So if you guys don't, well, you guys don't know. Goals TV. We did a draft. We actually did a live draft on goals, and I was one of the teams in there. I am the Bissonnette Gooners. If you guys don't know, if you're from Houston, you probably get the joke. But if not, there's some gooning on Bissonnette Street. They call it Biz Nasty sometimes. But yeah, so Hugo Ekitike is my player of the week. Edward's player of the week is, surprise, surprise, Lamine Yamal, who scored a goal and assist in their win against Mallorca, 3-0. A little controversial for Barcelona, but still, Lamine Yamal still balled out. Amazing goal, by the way. But yeah, so congratulations to Hugo Ekitike and Lamine Yamal for being our players of the week. Once again, guys, use that code BellyUpSports at checkout for first-time users at SeatGeek.com. Save you guys $20 off your first purchase. All right, guys, games to watch this weekend. In Mexico, we got Cruz Azul taking on Toluca. In Liga MX, in Ligue 1, we got Marseille versus Paris FC. I was going to say PSG. No, Marseille versus Paris FC. So we'll see how Paris FC does against a rival of their rival club, PSG. And then we have Lille taking on Monaco. Those are two games to watch over there in Ligue 1. In the Bundesliga, we got Bayern Munich taking on RB Leipzig. Bundesliga is officially kicking off this weekend. And Bayer Leverkusen taking on Hoffenheim. Can the Erik ten Hag era and Leverkusen start off in a good note? Serie A also kicking off this weekend. We have AS Roma taking on Bologna. And Juventus, who is the team that I'm thinking is going to maybe win the Serie A, taking on Parma. So we'll see how that goes in the Serie A. In La Liga, we got Atletico Madrid taking on Elche, and Levante taking on Barcelona. And then in the Premier League, we got Manchester City taking on Tottenham. Tottenham is coming off of a big win, Richarlison having an epic goal. And the other game is Everton taking on Brighton. So we'll see some Jack Grealish action over there with Everton. But all right. Obviously, those aren't all the games that are happening this weekend, but if you guys need a good beginner's guide, well, I think I gave you guys some good matches to look forward to this coming weekend. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we'll go right into 3 Up, 3 Down, the Bundesliga kits.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
What's up, everybody? It's Kelcey from the High Low Sports Podcast. And yes, I'm back again. Hector asked me to come back to talk Bundesliga and kits for 3 up and 3 down. A lot of great kits this year in the Bundesliga. No surprise. A lot of great manufacturers making their kits. But on top of that, a lot of teams returning to the Bundesliga who have a historic ties to the Bundesliga. So get some great historical designs as well as current designs and some really bad historical designs. But let's get into it. Let's start with my bads because, well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's have fun. My first of my 3 downs is Augsburg. Now, at some point in time, you've probably heard me talk about red and yellow kits as a Liverpool fan and how much I hate when red and yellow is attached to the same kit. Well, the only thing worse than red and yellow is when it's a bright red and bright green kit or some combination of those two on a kit. Well, guess what Augsburg has as their logo design? That's right. It is bright green and dark green and red on their badge normally. Well, their home kit decided to buck the trend of using the dark green and went with a brighter green sash on a white kit with a red split on that sash. I just can't do it. And then they went and doubled down with a bright green sponsorship logo. I could have picked the away kit here, but I'm going with the home kit. The away kit is red and yellow. Don't love it at all. Their third kit actually looks really cool, but their home kit is not for me. One of my least favorite, not my least favorite, but one of my least favorite in the Bundesliga, obviously, but it's my first down here for Bundesliga. Yeah, it's just not a great look. Can't do it, Augsburg. I'm sorry. I tried to like your kits. I can't do it every year. Like, this is too much. Not the worst green and red jersey we've seen in this season of football, but you know what? For the Bundesliga, it might be. Next up is going to be Dortmund. And I hear the early 2000s, mid-2000s Man United calling because they want their kit and sponsor back. Because that's what this is. They actually want their training kit. Because this looks like the training kit from Man United in like the 2006, 2007 region when they had the Vodafone logo. You had the white, they used red on theirs for the Man United training kits, but now you have Dortmund using the yellow, and this is a design from Nike's T90 series training kits. Puma, what are we doing? You did some great work in past. You did great work on their home kit. You color matched. That looked great. You did some okay work on their third kit. You could have color matched. That would have looked a lot better. But the away kit, what are we doing? Come on, Puma. I need better from you. You already ruined a Man City jersey this year, which would have been really cool looking. And now you ruin here with Dortmund, who has zero historical ties to the color red. In fact, they avoided using in their kits because of their rivalry with Munich. And here we are with a bright red Vodafone logo in the middle. We could do better. And it's on an away kit, too. When you go away, you want to look good. The fans need to remember your identity. And this is anything but the identity of Dortmund. That's what frustrates me. Now, obviously, most people will be like, well, Dortmund can probably just wear their home kit pretty much anywhere. Yeah, that's true. That's probably true. Not very many teams have bright yellow and black designs. But you know what? I don't care. This is one of my bads. This is probably my worst. It would be the worst in every other year. But there is one worse. There's one worse in my 3 downs for the Bundesliga. So let's get it off the board here. FC St. Pauli. I've talked about brown kits before. Talked about how much I hate brown kits. I don't love brown and white vertical stripes. I don't love thin and brown and white vertical stripes, or well, not really thin, but medium-sized. And then on top of that, you add the Puma logo in here and that pop-up design for a sponsorship ad, and I don't love it. I don't love it at all. There's a lot better options for FC St. Pauli. They've done a lot better options. There are some brown jerseys that they have done before where I actually do like them. This one missed the mark for me completely. I don't think there's anything they could have done to save this one. This one is just rough to me. I don't love it. And it's dark brown. It's not even like anything worthwhile. So yeah, FC St. Pauli saves Dortmund from being the worst one for the Bundesliga for me this year. So my 3 downs in the Bundesliga: Augsburg's home, Dortmund's away, and FC St. Pauli's home kits. Now let's go to the good because I'm tired of looking at this FC St. Pauli jersey. We are going to go with my number 1 up, and that is going to be the Leverkusen away kit because, man, oh man, Bayer Leverkusen hit it out of the park with this one. The maroon with the pink, and then I'm going to call it cream off-white color at the bottom and the fade to go to it, with the badge being the maroon and the manufacturer logo being the maroon. And then they have the sponsorship logo. It looks like a navy blue, which is closer to anything you would have seen from this logo before. I really like this. I think this was kind of like they had to make a design that works well with a sponsorship alternative logo because they couldn't use the white logo here. But I think this is one where it works really well with that color on top of the pink, the maroon, and the cream. These ones look really good to me. Honestly, I could have picked Bayer Leverkusen's home kits as well. They look equally as good. But I like the rose color. The rose looks really nice on some kits. Would love to see these. Probably would want to buy one myself. Don't know if they make them in my size, though. Bayer Leverkusen, get on that. But they're my first up. Number 2 on my ups list, we're going to go down to Hamburg and their home kits. Their home kit looks interesting. I actually really like it. Their away kit looks like an old Power Rangers uniform, and I was like, that's kind of cool. But then I looked over at their home kit, and I was like, that's really cool. It's pretty neat to me. I do like the designs. I like the kind of shark teeth black points coming in, surrounding the white field underneath. Like this field fits over the stomach. But I love the checker design or wave design with the blues popping into the black. I love this design. I love when black, white, and blue are used together and used well. You got to use the right shades of everything. But I think this one hits the nail on the head here. Hamburg's home kit will be my number 2 up. And now my last one, I'll be honest, I struggled because there were a lot of really good jerseys, kits in the Bundesliga that incorporated some sort of green. And I struggled picking one of these 3. But I ended up with Wolfsburg and their away kit as my number 3 up on the list. And you're going to look at this first glance. You're going to be like, what are you talking about? There's no green on this kit. Oh, no. You have to look at the details. That's what makes this kit so interesting. Now, if you guys remember a few years back, the U.S. women's national team wore kits that were white and black with neon green accents. I loved those kits. A lot of people didn't, but I loved them. Well, Wolfsburg took a bit of an inspiration from that. I'm not going to say it is because Wolfsburg's always had green in their kits. But this is really cool. It's a gray with a sublimation pattern on it with the black sponsorship VW logo, a black Nike logo with bright electric green trim, and then their Wolfsburg logo, which has been made to be white background, black logo, like black details, with then a green, that same electric green surrounding the patch. And I love that little detail because it shows they care about the kit. I love that design. I love that style. Nike really hit it out of the park with this one. Now, people might look at this and be like, well, it's kind of a training kit. Yeah, I've talked about this before. Training kits don't belong on the pitch unless they're a great training kit. Dortmund's training kit, which is what I'm calling their away kit, does not belong on the pitch. But you know what does? Wolfsburg's away kit. Absolutely love it. So my 3 ups for the Bundesliga: Leverkusen's away kit, Hamburg's home kit, and Wolfsburg's away kit. Hector, as always, brother, I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on. Love the crew at Insert Name FC. You know, you guys always make my life so much more fun when I get to be a participant, so I appreciate you having me on. You can check me out over on the High Low Sports podcast every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, on Twitter at high_low_sports or High Low Sports on every other platform. Hector, I appreciate it as always. We will see you guys again next time whenever Hector gives me the call. See ya.
All right, guys. So 3 up, 3 down. Obviously, you guys heard Kelcey. Kelcey just loves doing this. I don't even ask Kelcey anymore. He just sends me videos. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, I love Kelcey. So, but of course, we have Nik Gable. If you guys remember last episode, Nik Gable did the League on kits. And here we are doing Bundesliga kits because the Bundesliga, I don't know, man. I found it a little hard this season. I think that there was a lot of really good kits this year for Bundesliga. I don't know if you feel the same way. Nick, are you on the same page there? Or
Yeah, it was tough to find 3 that I didn't like, but I found them. I definitely found them.
Yeah. I mean, I found mine, so for sure. But yeah, so we'll do the 3 up, 3 down on the Bundesliga kits. And yeah, Nick, go ahead and tell me what was your 3 worst kits in the Bundesliga this season?
Okay, the first worst or the third worst is the Freiburg home kit. My biggest problem with the Freiburg home kit is that it looks like it's Sunderland. It just looks like a Sunderland knockoff with the vertical red stripes. I just was not I saw it and I immediately thought like Sunderland, and I was like, is that because Sunderland's now in the Premier League, or is that because it just looks like, did they steal it? Maybe there's some history behind it with the two clubs, but I didn't like it. And especially Freiburg rarely does something like this for their home kit. Maybe like a third kit they'll go red, but it was out of the ordinary.
Yeah, you're right. Usually they keep it pretty white, from what I remember. So yeah, and it does give me Sunderland vibes. So I do agree with that one. What do you got for second?
For second, I have the RB Leipzig home kit. I expect a lot from Leipzig. This is Red Bull's like flagship soccer club, and I expect a lot. And it just looks like very bland. Looks like they just drew some like lines on the top and on the bottom. Leipzig has had some great kits in the past, and I was expecting a lot more, and they kind of disappointed.
I'm really down bad on RB Leipzig. Do not have them on my list at all, but I was very meh with these, because usually they always have one kid that just pops to me, and this year, I don't know, Puma, what are you doing? What are you doing, Puma? So yeah, I agree with you. I was completely disappointed by RB Leipzig this year.
And then the worst, I think we'll have the same one. It's Dortmund's away kit. It is like yellow, like kind of on the kit, but then it's like black and silver and white. And then the sponsor is red, which I don't know if the sponsor just paid them enough money to be like, let's make our sponsorship red. But it's downright one of the ugliest kits I've seen ever, especially for a club like Dortmund, who have had some great kits in the past. It was bad. So yeah.
I'll just say this: I'm happy it's no more the days of that bubble, Dortmund. You know, the weird circle one that they had for the Club World Cup.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to be their kit for this season. Thank God it's not. Not saying that any of their kits this year pop out by any means, but yeah, Dortmund, another club very usually known for having amazing kits. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with that color scheme, but clearly. You can't go wrong, and it's crazy because Vodafone, I think, as an old head, I guess, Nick, is you think of certain, you know, you think of Manchester United, right? The back in the day Cristiano Ronaldo era with that Vodafone badge and so sponsorship, and I think I got some nostalgia from that, but yeah, just seeing these kids from Dortmund, yeah, major bummer. I do not have them on my number one though. That is. Similar to our Leipzig, completely disappointed, but there was kids that I just couldn't believe existed. And so my third kit for the worst kits was St. Pauli's fourth kit. And the reason why I have it, I picked that one, is it's a fourth kit. Like, do something crazy. Do something like that, you know, go against your color scheme, you know, do all that stuff. And the third kit's not any better, but it's just plain. It's just a plain, plain red shirt, right? And it's just, yeah, I was like completely disappointed by it. If you're gonna make a 4 for a third kit, like go against your color scheme. Go do something different. Like this is the time to, you know, don't go with your colors. Maybe pick a rival's color. Not really, but you know, like be different if you're gonna make a fourth kit. Because if not, then honestly, you could have told me that's a keeper kit, and I would have believed you. So
yeah. They should have done their third kit and their fourth kit should have been something different, because their away kit is a little bit different. But yeah. Keep going.
So my rule of thumb when it comes to kits, like home kit, as traditional as it can be, you know, stick to your color scheme. Away, maybe a little bit with the color scheme, but third and fourth, you know, go wild. Like don't hold anything back. I mean, for instance, prime example, last year's Arsenal kit, right? The Sully kit from Monsters Inc. You know,
yeah.
Like, it's not something you're gonna see every day. That's why it's a third kit. It's not gonna be something common more often than not. That's the one that people normally buy. So my third was St. Pauli's fourth kit. My second one is Werder Bremen's away. This was, I think, as hideous. It's hideous to me, but also it's unreadable. That really, and I usually like those bright green colors, but I think with the white and that gray, it just kind of, you don't know what you're looking at. So it's kind of not blinding in a way, but it just, there's no outline, right? It doesn't stand out to you.
It's like you can't read everything is hard to see and read. Yeah.
So, and I think kind of similar to how you felt about Dortmund's kit, where it's just like, I don't know what the hell the objective is of this. But yeah, so that's my number one, and my last one it's Frankfurt. Frankfurt's third kit, the weird camouflage blotches. I don't know what the significance of it is for Freiburg.
Oh God, yeah.
Frankfurt. Normally I do like what Frankfurt normally does for kids. They have a really easy color scheme to work with, but I don't know what the hell that was. Once again, I mean, they went for it. I'll give them that. It's just, sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. And so
it looks like throw up.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks like someone barfed on it.
Yeah, not one that I'll be going out of my way to get for sure. But we already talked about the ugly ones. Let's talk about the good ones. What's your top three kits for this season in the Bundesliga?
My third best is Leverkusen's third shirt. It's the blue with all the pluses on it. I just thought that was really, I like that color blue, and I like how their badge is blue too on the kit. That they kept the badge similar to the color of the kit. Because if they had kept their badge color, it's like black, red, and white, and it would have looked weird. But they colored in their badge with the kit's color, which is nice. And I always like New Balance. New Balance is always good at this stuff.
Good fitting too. It fits nicer too. I don't know why. I think they think about people when they make their kits.
Yes, definitely. I'm wearing one right now. Lille. I don't know what year it was, but recently, maybe one of the last 2 years. Third kit, I think. I'm not sure.
Looks
anyway,
like third kit for sure.
Yeah. And then second, I cheated a little bit. I said Frankfurt's first and second home and away kit. Maybe it's the picture I saw, but it looks so clean. I like the color scheme. I like the stripe down the middle. I want to say, I don't know if they've been Adidas the whole time, but I like the way the Adidas logo fits in with the kit. I also love how they're sponsored by Indeed. I think that's very silly for a team that's employing people to have a job sponsor as their kit sponsorship. Yeah, which is funny.
Where does this go up here for you? This goes up with me where Manchester United was sponsored by Chevy, of obscurity. I don't know if Chevrolet is something that's used in England, but to me, I'm just that seems weird. But Indeed does kind of I know it's not an American thing specifically, but it's just it was to me kind of eye catching that it was Indeed their sponsor.
I like it when a sponsor is eye-catching because I think the sponsorship can sometimes blend in and you don't really think about it. But I feel like it makes the kit better when the sponsorship is something and something like when Manchester United had Chevy, it was kind of silly seeing the Chevy logo all the time on their jerseys. So I like it when it's stands out.
Or Atletico Madrid having Spider-Man 2.
That might have been the best. A movie studio needs to sponsor another team's kits because that will be every kind of like Spotify with Barcelona, how they'll put album covers. Really smart. Yeah.
I've heard people still haven't gotten their Travis Scott Barca kits, by the way. So.
I'm not surprised. I feel like when the specialty kits are released, they only make us so many, and then it's always a hellhole trying to buy one because it's did you get it in time? Did you not get it in time? Anyway.
Exactly.
My best kit for Bundesliga is the Augsburg third kit. It's the black and gold. I just think this looks like I almost think that like Augsburg needs to have a good season if they're going to be wearing this shirt, because it just looks so like cool, and it looks like a team like that Kings made, like a Kings like employed some of the townspeople to go play football and made them wear this shirt. That's what it looks like to me. It looks really cool. Their first home kit is cool too. But yeah, Augsburg's third was my favorite.
I mean, you can't go wrong with black and gold. So I totally agree with you with that one. So for my top three, I do have a Leverkusen kit, but I have the away kit. I actually love it when you have when you do a gradient design sometimes. Some of them are misses. I totally get that. But I think with the white and the pink, it works perfectly. Plus, they whited out the badge. They gave it a black outline, but they did put a little white out to it. So I do like that part. I'm going to try to get me a Malik Tillman Leverkusen kit. And it's definitely going to be this one, the white and pink. I think to me, it's a good look. But yeah, your choice for the third one, I agree also. That one is a really nice kit.
I was considering putting the away kit instead of the blue kit, but I was like, the blue just drew me more. Mm-hmm. But I think if you look at all three of their shirts so far, great. Like probably best shirt for the like overall quality of the club.
Yeah, and once again, New Balance just somehow knowing how to do it. My second kit is gonna be, and is kind of how you were. I was torn between actually all three of their kits because I think they did a really good job. Is a Hamburger, all of them. But the reason why I picked their home kit, that's the one I'm picking, is because it reminds me of those '90s starter jackets. So me being the '90s kid, I gotta stick to the classics. Though, like I said, the away kit, I love it. Is it kind of the same kit when you think of it, the home kit? Sure, but it's different. And then also the black and pink, I think, well done. I like how they blacked out the badge. So I think they're all cool, but I'm gonna go with the home one just because it to me it feels very 90s-esque. It's a very 90s-esque look. Kind of just it's really cool. I hope Hamburger can stay afloat this season. And
yeah, they had to go big in their return to the Bundesliga. So I like all their kits as well.
And just like you, my number one, Augsburg third kit. And I think the reason why I put it at number one is because we also had other teams to do a black and gold kit in the Bundesliga. And when you looked at all of theirs compared to Augsburg just did it right. Like, I mean, you can easily mess up a black and gold kit. It's very easy to do it, and I think the other clubs just didn't do it as right. Maybe they missed one thing, but I think the way Augsburg did it, it's just you're right. They have to win something. They got to win the DFB Pokal or I don't know. They sneak in some poison food for Bayern Munich this year. I don't know what they got to do.
They got to get like a big win, like a big like upset during the season to justify that kit.
It's a nice kit, so I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think they're in any European competitions because, shoot, if they were Europa Conference League, I'd bet on them right now.
Yeah, just to see that kit.
But yeah, man, the kits. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think they're all, it was hard. Bundesliga, I think this year was pretty hard just because there were some really nice kits this year, some duds, but there was a lot of nice kits. I mean, I was conflicted by the whole Hamburger outfits that I made. So. Thank God I'm not a fan of that team because I would be broke. So,
yeah, I would get all of them. Even the goalie ones look nice.
Yeah, man. A good year for the Bundesliga. Bundesliga always has great kits, by the way.
Definitely.
I mean, when you have Dortmund and Bayern Munich, you're gonna get some bangers out of those clubs. Which Bayern Munich and Dortmund do. Okay, maybe not Dortmund, but Bayern Munich definitely pulled all the stops this year with Adidas. Adidas came out this year. They came out swinging this year with their kits this year. But,
definitely.
So that's 3 up, 3 down. We'll just go ahead and segment 2, wrapping this show up.
I'm a pupusa man myself. Better than tacos to me. I got to go with them.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to episode 226. I want to give a shout out, obviously, to Edward, Kelcey for coming on to do his 3 up, 3 down, Nik for coming and talking Ballon d'Or, and also staying to talk about the also doing 3 up, 3 down as well. So make sure you guys check them out. Check out High Low Sports. Check out Nik Gable's work over there at bellyupsports.com. Just check out Belly Up Sports in general, man, at all social media platforms, Belly Up Sports, X, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel over there. Lots of great content that's getting pushed out there. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happening right now on the YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, we just did a series called Mic Check. I was the first person to be featured on it. It's kind of just to get to know the many personalities. It's at Belly Up Sports. So check out that episode. It was really fun. It was me and Vince Stover from the Stover Report. Really cool content over there, and I really admire everything that's going on at Belly Up Sports. So go ahead and check it out. And check out Goals TV, man, GOZ.TV, on X at Goals_TV, Instagram Goals.TV. It is an awesome streaming service. It is free right now. So go ahead and check it out, man. It is awesome. Check out their YouTube channel. You'll find me there on some of their original programming as well. So go ahead and check it out, man. It's awesome. Go see it. I'm just telling you right now, it's great. I like what they're doing there. It's really awesome as well. And of course, Roosevelt Spencer, man. If you guys heard the new intro, the new outro, he's the guy. He's the guy that makes the beats. He's everything and amazing for us. We love him so much that he is the namesake for our Player of the Year award. So if you guys love the content, love the audio, and you guys need some beat work done, check him out on Instagram at ThatGuyDope. Once again, at ThatGuyDope. And he will take great care of you like he always does with us. With all that being said, man, thank you so much for listening. Catch us next week for episode 227, which I'm sure is going to be just another fun discussion. Take care, guys.